The Seahawks offense is the biggest loser from free agency. Going from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold is a downgrade. Everything that Geno did well, Sam Darnold does a lot worse. Geno Smith last year completed 70% of his passes behind the offensive line that allowed him to get pressured on 38.5% of his dropbacks. That was the second highest in the league. Sam Darnold, during his final 3 games as a Minnesota Vikings, we saw who he truly was. A quarterback that struggles when the offensive line isn't good and you get consistent pressure in his face. He goes back to seeing ghosts again. Geno Smith could have been a lot better if the Seahawks didn't have an offensive line that was 30th in the league in pressure rate. The Minnesota Vikings offensive line, believe it or not, was one of the best in the NFL, even with the injuries that they had until late during the season. Sam Darnold was a big factor in a lot of the sacks that he took due to his consistent habit of holding on to the ball too damn long. Geno Smith has given the Seattle Seahawks 3 consecutive years of top 13 quarterback play. There's no guarantee that you're going to get that level of quarterback play out of Sam Darnold. The ceiling for Sam Darnold is Geno Smith, but the floor is that you get what you saw with the New York Jets, a bottom 6 quarterback in the league as your starter. That's the reality. And 9 times out of 10, even if Sam Darnold ends up being serviceable for you, you're not going to get the season that you saw out of Minnesota where he played at an MVP level. He's bound to come back down to earth in some capacity. And you haven't improved the offensive line either. And remind you, the Seahawks offensive line has been consistently bad for over the last decade. They haven't had a good offensive line ever since they had Max Ugrasser center. For 6 out of the last decade, or 6 out of the last 10 years, the Seahawks offensive line has ranked 26th or worth in sacks per game allowed. And this narrative that Sam Darnold takes better care of the football than Geno Smith is false. Geno Smith was 7th in turnovers last season. Sam Darnold was 4th in turnovers last year. He was up there with Will Levis, who was a turnover machine. And when you have an offensive line that can't protect and you got a quarterback that struggles under pressure, what's that a recipe for? And then you tremendously downgrade at wide receiver. Sam Darnold's going from throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, to throwing to a wide receiving core that replaces DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and the injury-prone Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is getting paid $15 million a season, and yet he hasn't played an entire season for the last 4 or 5 years. He's only had one healthy year up to this point in his career. It's not a guarantee that Cooper Kupp is going to be healthy for the Seahawks. It's not a matter of if he's going to stay healthy. It's a matter of when he's going to get hurt. And that's not being a hater. That's just facts. The only year where he played in every single game, ironically enough, is the best year of his career when he was an All-Pro in 2021 and he won Super Bowl MVP. Other than that, he isn't really nothing more but a name. His name is way bigger than the production that he's put on the field these last couple of years. He went from averaging 13.4 yards per catch to 10.6 yards per catch. During his best season of his career, he had 11 100-yard games in 2021. Ever since then, he's only had 12 100-yard performances combined. You go from one of the better wide receiving cores in the league with DK, Lockett, and JSN to now a wide receiving core that's one injury away from MVS becoming your second top option, relying on an injury-prone wideout to be your top guy just is a complete recipe for a disaster. And the difference in the situation that Sam Darnold's going into that also is being overlooked is that you have a defensive-minded coach in Mike McDonald. compared to Sam Darnold being coached by Kevin O'Connell, who not only has been one of the best head coaches in the league, he's one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the league. Nearly every quarterback he gets turns into gold. The good thing about signing Sam Darnold is that you do have a 1 year out if this doesn't end up working out well. But even if you are able to get out of this contract, now you're in a situation where you got Mike McDonald going into year 3, most likely on the hot seat because the Seahawks don't make it to the playoffs. If you have to draft a quarterback, and now you have a rookie quarterback with the head coach that's on the hot seat, that normally always ends up in a disaster. Look what just happened with Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears after they spent the first overall pick on Caleb Williams, who was supposed to be the second coming of Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes put together. No team's offense got worser than what the Seahawks just did in free agency.